Hey guys, got Ryan7 again. This time with a review of the b-bandai exclusive 1/144 scale high-grade renewal century Jegan normal type, brought to you by Misaki from Samurai Buyer. Links in the description down below. So the Jegan normal type, as you're probably all aware, it's a remold of the original standard release Jegan, and you can immediately tell so by the colors. They are absolutely identical. Same mint green for almost the entire machine, same kind of bluish gray for the top of the feet and the collar, and then the same standard gray for the joints, the hands, and some of the accessories. The only difference you might be able to see right now is that the earmuffs are a slightly different color, but that is because the earmuffs on the new Jegan normal type are a different kind. And to wrap the colors up, we also get the same red on the cockpit, the chin, underneath the sticker right there, and of course also on the grenades. Now, something that's also kind of different are the stickers. You might be thinking, well, of course they're going to be different, but one cool thing that the Jegan normal type has, the regular Jegan does not have, is that it's finally getting nice, shiny, metallic green stickers for the front camera, and also one for the back camera, because believe it or not, the other Jegans, the non-F91 Jegans, do not come with those. And I actually had to double check to make sure that I just didn't forget them on mine, but nope, they do not come with those. Then we also get two very nice black ones which go underneath the shields to give the black effect of the missile launchers. Very nice stickers. The ones that aren't so nice, the big red ones. We get a giant red one on the shield, and this is really the epitome of remold syndrome. I mean, this red really should have been a part. I mean, you could even argue that the yellow V on there should have been a part. And in case you're wondering, yes, it is very easy to paint. It is molded in there. It's a three-dimensional V, so go ahead and paint that if you want to. Same goes for here, but only here the sticker is much worse because, of course, it's a much tinier surface, and that giant thing, that V, just kind of screws it up because, once again, Just Switch Shield is a three-dimensional thing, and the sticker just doesn't like to wrap around it. I mean, the way they did it on the original one is a lot better. Then, of course, we also get clear marking stickers. These are pretty much identical to that of the regular Jegan, except that we do not get the Londo bell symbol. So other than that, they are the same. So for color accuracy, the Jegan normal type does a pretty damn good job with the help of some stickers. With one exception though, one that you might not expect, and that is the grenades right here. They should actually be the same mint green color as the majority of the Jegan, unlike the original one. Something I didn't really notice until I had a closer look at it. On to articulation. The head goes up nicely, down, chicken movement backwards and forwards, rotates around. Not that far until it hits the backpack. Then arms will rotate around all the way, go up really nicely, forwards and backwards a little bit, and rotate around. Below the shoulder, bend at the elbow at one joint for about 90 degrees. The one big weak point of the Jegan's articulation. Hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. The waist is on a nice ball joint. Forward, backwards, side to side, rotate around. Very good articulation there. Though it does get hindered by the side skirt because of that pretty big backpack, which also has a little bit of articulation in its flaps on top. Forwards and backwards nicely. And the legs, of course, forwards very nicely, backwards very nicely as well until they hit the backpack, because there are no front skirts, no back skirts. Very easy design, really. Go out only about that far. Front skirts are also on hinges, go up and down. And the legs will rotate around a bit, and then, well, because the legs are on ball joints, then here we have a hinge to give the legs some interesting action movement right there. And the knees double jointed, unlike the arms. Not bad articulation. Feet go forwards nicely, backwards nicely on two joints. We have a hinge on the top, ball joint at the bottom. And it will go side to side and rotate around about that far, depending on how far you're willing to stretch this piece, because, well, that kinda is the only thing hindering the feet, and I'm pretty sure you could rotate it around all the way if you'd want to. Meaning that overall the Jegan has some nice articulation. Nothing too horrible, nothing too great, and it is of course also helped by the design of the machine itself. Now moving on to accessories, let's bring in the old Jegan again for a comparison. First of all, the one thing I mainly noticed is that despite supposedly having stronger thrusters, the Jegan normal type does no longer have the extra thruster on the side of his legs. On either side, they're no longer there. Of course, we do get all the parts of the regular Jegan, so that goes to the side. One thing I already mentioned in the beginning is that the earmuff is different, something I also didn't realize. It's a small difference, but you know, it is a bit thicker, and that is the main big difference. The details are slightly different. Nothing super duper different, and of course you also get the old one. Then the big difference that's on right now, the backpack, when you turn it around, it becomes very obvious that it is a completely different backpack. Also, the flaps on top are slightly different, being that there is no longer a hose running through them. I guess that's good. It's an upgrade, and you do of course want your hoses hidden away so that they're less of a target. Once again, we of course get the pieces for them. Then a part I've already shown in the beginning, the shield, a very nice looking shield. Despite having the giant sticker on it, I still think that this is a very, very nice looking shield. Of course, goes on either arm, and you can put it on the side or on the back. And once again, a very nice looking shield. Definitely an upgrade of the old Jegan shield. Not only do we get 2 extra missile launchers at once on either side, but they're also much more hidden, or at least so the model makes it seem. Once again, the old part is included. Then, for weapons, because of course we do want to have something to fight with, we get an upgraded beam rifle with an E-pack, or at least a much bigger E-pack on the bottom, compared to this thing right here. And overall, it feels a lot bulkier, something I wasn't too sure of if I really liked the bulk of the gun. I do like it a bit more now that I've built it, but still there is something about the leanness of the original Jegan's beam rifle that is also very nice. Fortunately, we do not get a left trigger finger hand, so that we can also use this with it. Still, also something about this beam rifle, probably being the E-pack on the bottom, just begs for an open palm left hand, which is unfortunately not included. But there is one final weapon included with this machine, if we can get it out. Here we go, the beam saber. And the cool thing about it is we don't just get one beam saber blade, we get 2 of them. On top of that, they're at different lengths, so you can choose if you want to use the slightly shorter or the slightly longer one. And that's a really cool extra little thing for, you know, people who like them longer, people who like them shorter, or maybe if you want to do something like in 0083 where you regulate how long the beam saber is. It's a cool little touch, and goes into the hand very well, not falling out, not moving around. It's a super solid beam saber. And then finally, there is one more accessory. I already mentioned the grenades on the hip, but they're not going to be usable straight out of the box because all 3 of them are molded together. You will see that each one of them has its own individual peg, and they are relatively easy to separate. So if you want to put one in the hand, or you want to make it look like you used one of them, that is something you can very easily do without risking, you know, screwing up the other grenades that go in there. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And of course, the answer is sadly going to be colored by the fact that this is a b-bandai exclusive. Otherwise, the answer would have been, yeah. For 1,700 yen, which is 200 yen more than the regular Jegan, you can build it as either the regular Jegan or the Jegan normal type, or a combination of both. Like, for example, giving him a little bit of extra thrust with those regular Jegan legs. Maybe that'll help a little bit against the Crossbone Vanguard mobile suits. I doubt it, though. But yeah, sadly this is a b-bandai model kit, and they are fetching quite a price. Now, I would say the max price you should pay for this is like somewhere around the $30–40 euro mark. And that is with shipping and all that kind of good stuff included. That does seem like really the top dollar price for this model kit. Now, unfortunately, if you want to have this thing, you are gonna have to buy this. And that is always what's kind of like the important deciding factor for a b-bandai model kit or any kind of exclusive model kit. The stuff you cannot get otherwise. And this thing is literally filled with it. I mean, everything that's specific about this thing is new. The shield is new. The Vulcans, they're new. Only slight difference, but they're still new. The legs, new. Backpack, new. Gun, new. And I'm just gonna say it once and then never again, but this really shouldn't have been an online exclusive. This should have been a regular release. But enough about that. It's a b-bandai exclusive, sadly enough. So yeah, and unfortunately, it's one that you might actually consider buying because it just looks so nice and so sleek. I mean, I love the way the shield looks, and by all means, it looks like a nice upgrade of the Jegan, minus the legs, but you know, you can use those if you want to. So I can recommend this if you can find it for a decent price. Now, fortunately, I am gonna try to end on kind of a positive mark, and that is the fact that there are many other Jegans out there that aren't online exclusive, luckily enough. So let's quickly get on with the size comparisons. And let's immediately start with the best example of that. On the left, we have the Stark Jegan, and on the right, we have the regular Jegan once again. So, for anyone who's saddened by the fact that the Jegan normal type is a b-bandai exclusive and you haven't bought the Stark Jegan yet, you know what to do. Right now. Do it. Then here is next to the Jegan D-type and the ECOWAS Jegan. And the D-type was kind of what I was talking about when I said that, well, this Jegan, you can get the parts anywhere else. The D-type is an example of a model, well, of a b-bandai exclusive, where you can get a part somewhere else if you want to paint. Namely, the ECOWAS Jegan on the right here. Because, well, the Jegan D-type is essentially the ECOWAS type minus the ECOWAS equipment, slightly different paint job and slightly different stickers. Then, to show how ridiculously oversized the Jegan was compared to its contemporary mobile suits, here it is next to the 1/44 scale Crossbone Gundam and F91. And the only reason the Crossbone Gundam doesn't make the Jegan look that ridiculously big is, well, because of the Crossbone backpack. So let's for a second take him away and replace him with the 1/100 scale Denon Zon. And yes, the Denon Zon is only slightly bigger than the Jegan, despite being a bigger size. That is what the poor Jegan normal type was up against. I guess they never stood a chance. Such a tragedy. Such a sad ending for such a great mobile suit. Talking about great mobile suits, here he is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And well, that's all for this review, brought to you by Misaki from Samurai Buyer, where, for example, you can buy this fine machine. And if you use the promo code Kakarot197 Misaki, you can get 50% off the handling fees until May 28th, 2016. And well, see you guys next time.